I had my suit laid out 3 days before. Charcoal gray, pressed shirt, black tie. Slept maybe 4 hours, heart racing the whole night. This was it. After 9 years of night classes, missed birthdays, and working construction in the day, I was finally a licensed architect. First in my family, first anyone. I thought, they'll see me now. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. My name's Grant. I was 33, living in Sacramento. That morning, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie over and over. I pictured Mom wiping tears, Dad fumbling with his phone camera, and my brother Blake pretending not to care, but still giving one of those half nods like, "Not bad, man." Phone buzzed. "Mom?" I smiled as I picked up, expecting something like, "We're 5 minutes out. Where do we park?" Instead, she said, real casual, "Honey, we have a little situation. There was a mix-up with dates. Blake's barbecue with his clients is today. We can't cancel. It'd be rude." I just stood there, phone pressed to my cheek, staring at myself. Then Dad got on, calm, like he was reading from a script. "It's just a ceremony, Grant. You're overreacting. We'll do a nice dinner next week, take pictures, we'll frame the best one." Something inside me iced over. No shaking, no yelling, just cold. I said, "Got it, have fun," and hung up. I just stood there for a minute, in that suit I'd worked toward for almost a decade. They didn't forget. They chose. Again. And I knew, if I skipped the ceremony, they'd tell everyone I flaked, so I went. The auditorium was packed with families, cheering, whistling, waving posters. I walked in, scanned the crowd automatically. The 2 seats I'd reserved were still marked Hollis, still empty. The program had my name on it in bold. Grant Hollis. People clapped and took videos. One dad ran down the aisle to hug his kid before he even sat back down. My section stayed quiet. Then my phone vibrated. I glanced down. Text from Blake. A photo of a grill flaring up, flames high. Caption, "Wish you were here." Right then, they called my name. I stood, slipped my phone into my jacket, and walked alone toward the stage. I took the stage like I was walking into court. "Grant Hollis," the announcer said. The clapping was polite. Nobody screamed my name or whistled. Nobody stood. Just me, walking across that polished wood like I was a ghost in my own life. The pin went on fast. Some admin handed me a paper certificate and smiled like she'd done this 50 times today. I forced one back. My stomach was knotted so tight I could barely breathe. The spotlight made my skin itch. Felt like a searchlight trying to catch the crack in my smile. I got off the stage and out the side exit as soon as I could. I didn't linger. I didn't talk to anyone. I walked around the back of the hall and found a stone fountain near the parking lot. No flowers in my hand. No balloons tied to a folding chair. Just the sound of traffic and a stranger sitting nearby with a fancy-looking camera. He glanced over. "You one of the grads?" I nodded. "You want a picture?" I hesitated. "I take photos, events, weddings." "I got you, man. Hand me your phone." I gave it to him. He backed up a little, framed the shot. "Say architect," he said. I managed a half smile. He snapped to, then handed it back. "Congratulations, sir." He meant it. He had no reason to fake it. That night I sat on my bed, still in the suit, staring at the photo. I didn't crop it, didn't throw on a filter, just posted it plain with the caption, "First architect in the family, my parents had a barbecue." 5 minutes later, the family group chat exploded. "Blake, seriously?" "Mom, we said next week." Me, "Today mattered." Mom again, "Your father worked hard for Blake's event. Don't make this drama." Blake, "You love playing victim. Grow up." Dad didn't say a word. The crying hit before I could even shut the screen off. Not a few tears, full body crying. Couldn't breathe through it, couldn't stop shaking. Then just as fast, it dried up. Left a knot in my chest that wouldn't move. I got up, walked to my bookshelf, and pulled down an old shoebox. Inside were letters from my grandmother, Ellen Merritt. She was the only one who ever treated me like I mattered just because I existed. She died the year before I started the license process. Never got to see me finish. I opened a folded birthday card from her, the last one she sent. It said, "I'm proud of you before you even begin. Love you always, Nana." I said it out loud. Grant Merritt said it again. Slower this time, let it land. It didn't feel fake. It felt like shoes that actually fit. I opened my laptop and typed, "California name change process." Pulled up the official site, read through the forms twice. It was all right there: petition, fees, publication, doable. I printed the first form, wrote Grant Merritt in big black ink across the top, and set it on my desk. I wasn't bluffing. I was done being optional. The courthouse smelled like old paper and floor cleaner. I stood in line with a man fighting a parking ticket and a woman filing for a restraining order. Nobody cared why I was there. That helped. When it was my turn, I slid the petition across the counter. The clerk skimmed it, stamped it, and told me the fee without looking up. I paid it. Debit card. No hesitation. Walking back to my car, the paper felt heavier than it should have. Not scary, solid, like something that couldn't be talked out of. That afternoon, I typed 2 letters. Short, direct, no speeches. Effective on this date, I will be legally known as Grant Merritt. I printed them, signed them, and walked to the post office. Certified mail, return receipt. I watched the clerk sticker the envelopes and drop them into the bin. Once they disappeared, I felt a strange calm. Not relief, commitment. Blake called that night. I answered because I wanted it done. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he said. No hello. "You're humiliating us over a grill and some burgers?" I leaned against the counter, staring at the sink. "It's not about one afternoon." "Oh, please. You didn't get enough attention, so now you're pulling this stunt?" "It's about a lifetime," I said. He laughed, sharp and mean. "You sound unstable." I didn't raise my voice. "It's Merritt." There was a beat of silence. Then I hung up. A friend from college messaged me a few days later. "Hey, weird question. Your parents have a shared Facebook album from that barbecue. Want access?" I stared at the message for a while before typing back yes. When the invite came through, I opened the album. Smiling faces, ribs on the grill, Blake holding court with a beer in his hand. Caption at the top, "Great day with great people." My thumb hovered over the screen. This part made my stomach twist. I added one photo. Just one. The fountain shot. Me in my suit, pin on my lapel, no crowd behind me. Then I edited the caption. Priorities logged. I locked my phone and set it face down. Shame hit first. Then relief rushed in right behind it. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't beg anyone to understand. The truth was just sitting there next to theirs, finally equal. That night, I slept straight through. No jolting awake. No rehearsed conversations in my head. No chest-tight panic. Just sleep. Deep and dark and quiet. No big victory. Just enough. Weeks passed. No calls. No texts. The certified receipts came back signed. I filed them away and didn't look at the names. A couple cousins reached out on the side, saw the photo. Didn't know. I replied the same way to both. Now you do. I went back to work. Same commute, same desk. But something had shifted. I stopped checking my phone every few minutes, stopped bracing for the next guilt-laced message. The silence stretched, and instead of hurting, it steadied me. One evening, I opened my laptop and updated my resume. I changed the name at the top to Grant Merritt. It wasn't official yet, not stamped and final, but it was mine. I saved the file, printed a copy, and slid it into a folder. Then, I placed that folder on my desk, right next to the court papers, and shut off the light. 2 weeks later, I packed the folder with my resume and court papers into a duffel bag, loaded everything I owned into a used Civic, and drove east until freeway signs stopped looking familiar. I landed in a small town outside Tulsa. Decent rent, nothing fancy. Took a junior role at a firm that did public schools and community centers. Low pay, tight deadlines, good work, honest work. First morning, I showed up early, rolled out plans on my desk, fresh coffee, people moving fast but not frantic. No nameplate yet, just a sticky note. I wrote it myself in block letters. Grant Merritt, no questions, no hesitation. Even though the judge hadn't signed the final order, it felt done already. Like breaking in boots you were supposed to wear all along. Nora was the project lead. Mid-40s, sharp bob, wore work boots with slacks, carried a yellow highlighter in her back pocket like a weapon. Ran on black coffee and tough questions. She skimmed my resume that afternoon and tapped the top. You've got 2 names here, Hollis on the degree, Merritt in the contact info. I kept my tone steady. Family stuff. She studied me, then nodded like she'd heard worse. All right, you know your way around public bids? I can learn. That was enough for her. A few weeks in, we were still catching up on a project that had been butchered by the last firm. School gym with HVAC plans that didn't line up and drainage that made 0 sense. Late night, plans everywhere. Takeout cartons in the trash. My head was pounding. Nora leaned back in her chair and sighed. You ever notice how no one screws up anymore? I looked over. She went on. They all did their best, but somehow you're still holding the bag. I laughed, too bitter too fast. She raised an eyebrow. What's that about? I told her the short version. The barbecue, the call, the empty chairs. Left out the noise, just the facts. She didn't blink. Then she asked, so, what are you going to do with that? I didn't answer, not right away. But the question stayed stuck in my brain long after we shut the lights off. That weekend, I bought a domain name for $12. Simple black background, no frills, just a header. GM. First post. What it feels like to be the ghost kid in a house where a noise meant value. Next, late wins don't make early silence easier. Then, when they call it not a big deal, but it still breaks something in you. No names, no towns, just truth, cleaned up and put down flat. The post started small, nothing viral, nothing flashy. Just me, late at night, typing it out under the quiet glow of my desk lamp while my dinner went cold. When they call it just a ceremony, the golden child and the utility son. Why I changed my last name, no names, no towns. I scrubbed anything that could tie it back to them directly. I wasn't trying to burn the house down. I was just done pretending I'd never been cold inside it. At first, the comments were a trickle. Guys around my age, late 20s, early 30s. That same, damn, I thought it was just me. You wrote what I've never been able to say out loud. That would have been enough. But one morning, I opened my email and saw a message from a trades podcast I used to listen to on job sites. They'd found Utility Son, asked if they could read parts on their next episode, said it hit home for their listeners. Then an education newsletter picked up Just a Ceremony, ran a short write-up, and linked the blog. 3 days later, I got an email from a Family Dynamics magazine. Real publication, nothing clickbait. We'd like to republish your post, Just a Ceremony, as a feature. We'll list you as GM Architect. Anonymous is fine. Please confirm. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes before replying. Yes, confirmed. GM. After that, the numbers jumped. Shares, comments, DMs, teachers, union guys, nurses, all different walks, same scar. I was on a ladder measuring duct clearance in a cafeteria when my phone started buzzing. Unknown number, local area code. I let it ring out. It buzzed again 30 minutes later, then again. That night, I listened to the voicemail. Mom's voice, tight like she'd rehearsed it, and still didn't like the way it sounded. Grant, we've seen the blog, the magazine. People think that story is us. Your father is furious. Blake's sponsors are pulling out. He's losing money. This is hurting our family. Why would you punish us like this? She didn't say my name wrong. She just didn't say it at all. I didn't reply. I didn't text back. I just hit play again to be sure I'd heard it right. Then I walked into the living room, held out my phone to Nora, she'd swung by to drop off corrected specs, and hit play one more time. She stood there, arms folded, her expression flat. When it ended, she said, "They're not upset about the harm. They're upset about losing the cover." That hit hard, in a clean, necessary way. I sat down at the table, opened my laptop, and added a new post. What happens when you stop protecting the story? It wasn't about dragging them. It wasn't even about being mad anymore. It was about clarity. When you grow up learning to cushion the truth so other people don't squirm, you start to believe silence is kindness, but it's not. It's just quiet violence. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't carrying it alone, like the weight had shifted off my chest and finally landed where it belonged. I didn't sleep much that night, but not because of stress, because I was planning what came next. I texted Mom, "We can talk," public place, halfway, no spin. She replied 5 minutes later, "Okay, name it that fast, too fast." We met at a cafe right off the highway, neutral territory. I flew back for the meeting. They insisted on driving in. I walked in, spotted them near the back. Dad was in a golf jacket, stiff like he had a board meeting after. Mom stood when she saw me, half smiling like she might go in for a hug. I stepped back. "It's Mr. Merritt now," I said. Dad's mouth went flat. We sat. No small talk. No coffee orders. Mom opened first. "Blake's sponsors are gone. He's losing contracts. Your father can't show his face at the club. The neighbors are asking questions." I didn't say a word. Just unlocked my phone, opened the old group chat, scrolled to the pinning day thread, and slid the phone across the table. There it was, my message, "Today matters. This is huge for me." Her reply, "We said next week. Don't make this drama." "Dad, it's just a ceremony." They both stared. "That was the moment," I said. "That's when you told me exactly where I stood." Dad cleared his throat. "We made a mistake, but what you did, posting all that, you smeared us." "I didn't make anything up," I said. I stopped hiding it. He leaned back. "You put our family name in the dirt for clicks." I pulled a manila folder from my bag and slid it across. Inside was the article from the magazine, printed clean, and a stack of messages I'd printed out. Ones from men, women, people who grew up on the sidelines of their own families. Mom picked up one page and scanned it, then another. "You're not mad I lied," I said. "You're mad I told the truth where it counted." Mom's lip trembled, but her voice held. "This is destroying our family." "No," I said. "This is what it looks like when you lose control of the story. That's not destruction. That's daylight." Dad leaned forward, elbows on the table. "You could have come to us, said how you felt, not gone public." "I did come to you," I snapped. "That day. The day you didn't show up. And every year before that, when I was waiting to be enough for you to notice." The table went quiet. Just the hum of the espresso machine behind the counter and the distant clatter of dishes. I took the folder back and slid it into my bag. "You raised me to keep things in the family," I said, "to protect the image, but Image didn't show up. Image didn't clap. Image sent me a photo of a grill while I walked a stage alone." Mom looked away. Dad rubbed his temple like he had a headache he didn't earn. "You wanted quiet," I said. "You got it for years. I'm done buying peace with my silence." Mom set her hand flat on the table, like she was calming water. "What do you want, Grant? An apology video? A public statement? Something to fix this?" I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't sorry. She was scrambling. "I wanted you to show up," I said. "That day, that moment, that's all I wanted." Her mouth opened, but I kept going. "After that, I wanted you to own it. Just say it mattered, that you blew it." Dad leaned in, voice low like we were negotiating some backroom deal. "You've made your point. Come home." The old me might have jumped at that, swallowed it like an overdue hug, but that version of me didn't exist anymore. "No," I said, "I'm done being optional." I pulled out the folder again, this time not with articles, but documents, laid them out one by one. My new license, Grant Merritt. My court order, finalized and stamped. My updated vehicle registration. Every piece of proof that I'd stopped waiting for their approval. "This doesn't erase blood," I said. "It erases entitlement." Mom's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Don't throw us away." I pulled back, calm, final. "I'm refusing to keep throwing myself away for you." Her shoulders slumped. Dad stared at the papers like they were a betrayal. Like he expected me to crumble, hand over a clean version of events so he could go back to the club without shame. I didn't. You want a line for people who ask? I said. Tell them the truth. Tell them you had a son who became the first architect in the family. And you chose a backyard party over his ceremony. Dad's jaw clenched. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but I've already regretted every year I spent begging for a chair with my name on it. I stood. Neither of them moved. I picked up my folder, nodded once, and walked out into the sunlight. By the time I hit the parking lot, the messages had already started rolling in. Anger came first. Blake, you don't know what you've done. Then guilt. Mom, this is breaking my heart. Bargaining showed up next. Let's just talk, just us three. No drama this time. Then came the quiet. Through cousins, I heard Blake lost 2 contracts, something about bad optics, sponsors pulling out. Dad stepped down from his committee at the club. No official reason given, but everyone knew. I didn't dance on it. I got up, took my new nameplate from its box, and screwed it into the office door with my own drill. Grant Merritt, AIA. Then I went inside and got to work. I drew plans for a cafeteria roof that leaked every time it rained. Updated hallways that trapped heat and made kids dizzy by noon. Fixed visibility lines so teachers could actually see the corners of their classrooms. Simple stuff. Stuff that mattered. The blog kept growing. 1 piece a month, sometimes 2. I got an email from a podcast about estrangement and boundaries. I agreed to a short anonymous interview. Just voice, no name, no camera. The host asked what I'd say to people who call this revenge. I said, telling the truth isn't revenge. Watching the truth work is. That line stuck. They clipped it and used it for the episode title. I didn't check the stats, but I saw it float around in screenshots and reposts for weeks. That same week, I filed paperwork to start a small scholarship in my grandmother's name, the Ellen Merritt Start Line Fund. 1 community college student in design or drafting, focused on kids whose families can't or won't show up. I wrote a short message at the bottom of the application. This is for anyone still building something with no applause in the room. I see you. Apply anyway. I put my email on it, no middleman. The first winner was a 19-year-old named Jalen. He didn't ask for much, just someone to review his portfolio. I showed up, met him at a sandwich shop, went through his sketches page by page, told him what worked and what didn't, and told him to keep going. A few weeks later, Nora invited me to speak to the firm's summer interns. Topic was boundaries and work. I kept it simple. Do the job right, and don't hand your steering wheel to people who never learned to drive. They laughed. Then they wrote it down. Every so often, late at night, when I'm brushing my teeth or shutting off the office light, I still think about those 2 empty chairs. It still stings. But it doesn't run the place anymore. I still keep that fountain photo in my desk drawer, not to hurt myself, just to remember. That was the day I stopped making excuses for people who wouldn't take a seat when it counted. I tell them the truth. The family was already cracked. The name change just kept the pieces from cutting me again. Mom sent a card last Christmas. No return address. Just a snowman and a red scarf and a line inside. Hope you're well. No apology. No mention of my name. Just quiet frost. I slid it into the same drawer with the photo. Didn't write back. A few months later, I got an email. Subject line. Sketches for school. Blake's kid. He said his dad told him I was an architect. Said he was interested in buildings and light, and asked if I'd be willing to look at some of his ideas for a class project. I said yes. We met at a coffee shop near his school. I brought a notepad. He brought his whole sketchbook. I didn't say a single hard word about his dad. The next week, we walked a small job site I'd just finished, an elementary addition with wide halls and big windows. We talked about stairs and daylight, and why no hallway should ever feel like a tunnel. He asked good questions, smart ones. I saw the spark in his face, the one I used to wait for someone to see in mine. If there's revenge here, it's simple. I took myself away. I built a life with my grandmother's name on the door. Merritt Design Group, clean logo, no drama, just work that holds.